Hi, my name is Daniel Nguyen. I was born and raised here in San Jose, California, the heart of Silicon Valley. A little bit about my backstory is when I was a kid, I was very curious, a very shy, quiet, introverted type of person, always just afraid to do anything. And I was just that person who was a daydreamer. I always daydreamed throughout my childhood, always wishing or always imagining things were a little different. I kind of grew out of my shell a little bit when I became, a little older, and I took the first step into kind of straying away from my shyness was going to college. I went to college in Southern California. I studied computer science. Going to college really changed who I was because if I rewinded back, some funny stories that I had was it was really bad, my shyness, because sometimes it was hard for me to even pick up the phone. It was hard for me to go to a McDonald's and go order something at the register. I was having a nervous breakdown. I suffered a lot of social anxiety. And I wanted to change that. I didn't want to be this type of person anymore. I wanted to make real friends, have true connections, and stop necessarily daydreaming, but living. So I took that first step and I went to college that was far away enough from home, but still close enough that my parents didn't necessarily can come bug me. So when I went to college, I really broke out of my shell. I It was a really awkward transition because I knew that I wanted to be more vocal. I knew I wanted to be someone that people wanted to be around. So instinctually, I just said, "Hey, just talk. Just start talking as much as you can and to as many people as you can." And throughout college, it really opened myself up and made me into kind of the person that I am today because I took that first initial step into becoming someone who was just able to talk. And that was a victory for me. I grew up with Vietnamese refugee parents who came here from Vietnam during the war. They had nothing, they didn't speak English. They worked very hard and they really instilled those values into me, especially always needing to have a plan, needing to have security, especially financial security. I always knew that I had to work hard, go to school, and get a job, and just be settled and just be safe and be happy. And that was the plan my parents set for me. That was the plan that I thought that when I did, I was gonna finally hit that jackpot and just sail off into the sunset. After I graduated, I worked as a software engineer for 5.5 years. And that fairy tale ending never really happened, especially the ending just for that portion of my life. And as I was working my 9 to 5 computer programming job, I became so unfulfilled. I felt that was this what life was all about? And I questioned that to myself every single day going to the office, that is this where my life is going to lead me to? The plan wasn't working and I needed to do something. So I did probably one of the scariest things I ever did was just quit my job and go travel. And I've never traveled before, other than when I was 6 years old, I went to Vietnam with my parents. Other than that, I never really went anywhere. I just stayed local. I went on an intuition feel that I needed to do something different. So within 10 days, I went on a trip that my friends were going to go on, and I was hooked on traveling because I knew that this was something different and this was something that can change me. And I was so in love with the emotions that came along with it. I ended up thinking that this one short 2-week trip turned into a 2-year trip. And in those 2 years, I went to 25 countries, over 80 cities. I essentially became a tourist. I became a traveler. And after traveling for so long in those periods of times, I wanted to do something more. And I ended up wanting to do some volunteering work. So I became an English teacher, and I was involved in this program called Education for the Poor, where they send volunteers out to locations, and I chose Vietnam because I'm Vietnamese and I've never really knew my culture that much, so I decided to go there. And the things I've learned there were just compassion, empathy of just the people there who essentially didn't even have anything at all, yet they still had a smile on their face. A lot of my students, when I was teaching, they wore the same clothes every single day for weeks on end. They never complained. Just going through that experience and then even wanting to give more of myself. I have a passion for soccer and a passion for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I decided to go to Brazil because those are the two things that are essentially religion in Brazil. And I wanted to give back. So I became a soccer coach in a favela in Rio de Janeiro for a summer. I never really knew how hard people had it, especially in a favela, especially with no resources. And the poverty was just so immense there. And it gave me such a purpose to want to help. And the things I've learned there was to always want the best for everyone else, even if it's not sometimes the best for myself. There are so many lessons I've learned throughout my travels. It became a part of my DNA and who I am as a person because I saw so much. I saw so much pain. I saw so much happiness, and I saw so much growth. A lot of the traveling that I did were by myself. I wanted to speak more about it because traveling for me is a microcosm of life. Everything happens so quickly. You build relationships with the people that you meet so quickly, yet when you say goodbye, it's so hard. Even though you may have known a person or a group for a day, a week, a month, 3 months, yet it felt like I've known them for years, and having to move on to the next chapter of my life felt like life itself, just more sped up in time. And I've grown so much as a person, and I've learned so much about the world and about who I kind of turned into, that I knew that this is something that I had to do for the rest of my life. I know that I can't travel for the rest of my life, but I know that I can incorporate culture, helping other people, and learning as a part of it. As I came back from, my travels about almost 2 years, I came back because essentially I ran out of money and I had to come back. So when I came back, I was still unsure of what to do. I was so used to going on an adventure. I was so used to being in a dream world. And when the dream ended, I felt incredibly stuck in a way, how I felt before I started. And I thought that was very weird, where I came back with more questions than I had answers, because I felt that I couldn't go back to the thing that I ran away from, which was, going to do a 9 to 5. Yet I don't know how to not to do one. It really made me question that, well, I can't travel forever. So what else do I do? If I don't want to go back to a normal job, what else can I do? I stumbled across the mentoring club, and they really helped me get back on my feet. And I felt that the resources that they've given me and the community that they allowed me to be a part of just essentially helped me get back into the traveling mindset, not necessarily just seeing new places, but just in that mindset of that there's more to life than what I see. So I attribute a lot of my current success and my current mentality and my current mindset to having mentors in my life, because without them, I don't know where I would be. I would probably still be stuck, probably saving up, working for another job, and then just going to travel again. But then I feel like that's a cycle, and I wanted more of a purpose. And I felt that if I can have mentors to develop my passions as well as, my career, and kind of mold them into one, or help them guide me into something that I can truly feel that I can live every day and be very proud of.